Hey, what's up? It's Comic95 the Savior, and I want to talk to you guys about this weird obsession with trying to humble black women, specifically on Japan-related topics. I will fully disclose, as I said inside of another video that I recorded earlier today, but I don't know when you're going to see this one. I just woke up. I have not done my hair. I'm not wearing makeup. I'm in my pajamas. This is not a beauty contest or whatever. I'm just here to talk to you. You don't have to look at me. I'm not going to make this video super long, but I just want to say, there's mixed information out there, and there's also incorrect information. People are really misinformed, and I'm going to let you know right now, this is not a feel-good video. I've done another video on this topic where I was more angrily, bluntly defending myself, but I want to talk about just this topic on hand because I saw a video that basically made me bring this up. I tell you guys that I actually don't watch other YouTubers that are living here in Japan after I moved here myself, but I do every once in a while see clips of other people's channels on Instagram, unfortunately. And one of them was a street interview that I saw with a woman who was half black, half Japanese. It reminded me of my own children, because that's what they are. And with that said, I've been living in Japan for a while. I am a fully black woman, and I'm married to a Japanese man. And I saw in this video, I watched the whole thing, might add, so I'm not just talking about based on the cover of it. This woman was talking about how she doesn't like foreign men, basically. She's half African. I don't know, which specific country. I don't really give a shit. Just saying for the Africans, well, Africa's not a country. Shut up, bitch. But anyway, back on subject. Sorry, guys. I'm off to a bad start. But anyway, yeah, so, she was saying how she likes Japanese men. And people were kind of, losing their shit in the comment section and talking about, she's delusional, basically, because Japanese men don't like her because she's a black woman. And it's you do, or never talking about, people introducing her to their families, that the other, this is going to go well. All of this false information out there that I just found really weird. I can tell you from personal dating experience as a fully black woman that all of those things are not true. In fact, none of them are. And there are going to be some black women that would disagree with me. And don't get on my side yet, black women, because I'm going to hurt some feelings, but I'm going to be blunt and honest. And keep in mind, this is not what I say in my opinion. I'm telling you facts. This is what they think, how they move, how they act. They meaning Japanese men. I would really say this goes for Asian men in general, but specifically Japanese men is who we're talking about. When I say Japanese, I mean 100% Japanese, born and raised in Japan. Not Japanese American, not Japanese British, not half white, half Japanese living in America. No, I'm talking fully Japanese, and this is why it matters. Obviously, if you're biracial, for most people, I won't say obviously, but for most people, you are going to be a little more internationalized, a little more understanding, and possibly a little less racist than the average person because you're a mixed race yourself. Not to say that you can't be self-hating, etc., but we're not going to get into all of that shit. Here goes my point. For the most part, people like what is around them. I just scratched my face. People like what is around them and what they constantly see. People like what they are told to like. Think about it in the black community. The reason why people like fat asses and whatnot, thick girls, is because you were taught to find this attractive. I remember being young and where you wanted to be thin, and being thick was being fat, and being fat was not cool. You got laughed and made fun of. Now, here I am being honest. I'm heavier than I was back then. I get it, I was a child, but I feel like I get more attention, more positively now, because your body is perfect. Things change, right? I tell you guys this a while ago. I remember going to the store and seeing they had these hip slimming devices and made as seen on TV items to thin your lips and just weird things like that. And now it's the total opposite. People are paying money to get injections to make their lips full. People are paying money to get wider hips and BBLs, and that's a whole other story. So my point is this: people like what they're told to like. If it ever became uncool to have a big butt, suddenly everybody would be getting theirs removed, which is kind of what's going on right now. But specifically, I'm talking about the black community. If black men decided this is no longer cool, black women would suddenly stop doing this. We can lie, we're doing it for ourselves. And yeah, you're doing it to compete with other women for the same men. That's what's going on. Which in other words means you're doing it for men. Likewise, men want to get money for what? To get female attention. You might say, I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it for the bros. Yeah, you want girls to want you, and you want men to wish they were you so they can get the girls that you're able to pull. Simple as that. But anyway, my point is this: Japan has their own beauty standards separate from other countries, okay, specifically separate from the US, and also they are surrounded by different people than what we have in the US. As an American, I see mostly white people. Whether you personally are attracted to white men or not, as a non-white woman, you are going to naturally have it on your mind. Naturally consider, naturally have this, are white men attractive? Should I find this attractive? Should I like light colored eyes? Should I like blue eyes? Should I like blonde hair? Why? Because you're constantly being told tall, dark, handsome. You're constantly being told, blonde hair, blue eyes. You're constantly being showed this, constantly being shown this is beauty, this is attractiveness. Okay. Also, the majority of people that I see in my day-to-day life are white people. Now, do I personally have a thing for white men? No. But I'm just explaining it's understandable that someone would. Okay. Japan is no different. Unlike the US, it's more like your average European country. I get it. The Europeans are going to complain about immigration of Muslims. I'm not going to get Muslims and Africans. I'm not going to get into that part of it, okay? We're talking about the fact the majority of your guys' countries are white. With that said, all right, if you were to take Japan under that same perspective, what do you think their beauty standards are going to be? People that look like themselves, right? Also, keep in mind, when it comes to countries like this, who are the majority of foreigners that they deal with? White people. Not going to be black. And I'm talking about non-Asian. There are definitely way more white people living in Japan than there are Africans. And when I say Africans, I'm covering all of us. I'm talking people from the continent of Africa, people from the Caribbean, and people from the Americas, whatever, okay? With that said, you are obviously going to have less experience with people that are black. So when you think about foreigners, I said this before, you're not thinking about a black person. You're thinking about a white person, or possibly even another Asian, because I know that Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese make up the majority of foreigners in Japan. But they kind of blend in for the most part, being realistic. The only way that a Japanese person can even tell them apart is when they talk, how they dress, and if they have a certain look. But the look thing doesn't always go. For example, people have thought that my husband was a foreigner, and he's 100% Japanese. So, no, they can't fully tell whether somebody is or isn't. They can take a guess. My ex had the same situation. Anytime he was out with me, people assume that he must be a foreigner. Even with my husband, when I go out with him, people will assume, oh, he must be a foreigner because he's with me. So anyway, back on subject. This is my thing. It's not a matter of fact that you're just ugly so people don't like you, but rather people don't consider you because they don't see you. The other truth that's going to kind of go against what I just said, and I'm going to make this short because I've already done a video on this topic, is the fact that, let's just keep it real, representation for black women in media is not good for the most part. You're either portrayed as being a whore, a prostitute, ghetto, loud, masculine, obnoxious, and or fat and ugly. And with that said, okay, in a country of people like white skin, paleness, and people that are thin, why would you like some 300-pound, dark skinned, bald-headed, angry, masculine woman? That was blunt and harsh. This is not to say that white women are not fat, they're not ugly, they're not whatever, but this is not the portrayal that they get in the media, do they? When you look at, or you think about a white person, for most people in these countries, they are thinking of the Ariana Grandes, the Taylor Swifts, the Dua Lipa, whatever type, however you say that hoe's name, you get what I'm trying to say. This is the representation that they have. For us, while yes, there's the Beyonce and the Rihanna, most people's experience with seeing black people, blackness, is going to be gangs, is going to be news articles and stories showing violence and ghetto ratchet people in bonnets and pajamas and burnt lips from smoking weed, crap like that. That's what they're seeing. Okay, one more thing. Let me also add that I recently did a video talking about the stereotypes for Asians, and in particular Asian women, simply not being true, which is also interesting because I have a video that's coming up about them and their use of filters. And it was really funny because I literally just got through making a video talking about the heavy use of filters, the fake personalities to get what they want, the manipulation of males, and the over-exaggeration of personalities, appearances, the fake docileness, etc. that they get and, pushed both by their own men and by foreign men that are also easily fooled into believing this is what these girls are really like. Meanwhile, as an American, if you use a filter, you do all the fake personality stuff, you get called out for being a gold digger, for being fake, for having plastic surgery. Meanwhile, Asian women are freely roaming around and doing the exact same thing. So I already made a video on that, but I do have another one coming up talking about a very specific case of a woman who went viral for looking young. Meanwhile, I can literally look at the picture of her and see that she has on a filter, she appears to be wearing circle lenses, and she might even have some plastic work done at least to her face. But that's for a whole other video, a whole other topic. But that's what I do want to say. Key word in what I'm talking about here is representation. I'm not saying that you as a black woman fit this category. You have this appearance, you are these things. But I'm saying this is what they see of you. And to put this into perspective, even Asian women are fooled by their own men. Look at TV in Japan. Do you normally see ugly, short, scrawny, unattractive, dorky looking dudes? No. They normally portray their men as, what's the name of that guy? Toma P and whatnot. Like they show men that are unnaturally, unaverage, super, I can't even think of the word to use, but super attractive men are what they try to push and portray in their media. When they draw characters in manga, most characters, which really just look like straight up white people, but are supposed to be Asian, right? They have them portraying an appearance that they don't have. The average character is going to be tall, going to have this angular, ovular, type of shape, face, etc. And it goes beyond just anime, but I'm talking about even TV shows. Look at the actors. Look at the J-pop stars. They don't look like everyday Japanese men. So what do Japanese girls think of their own men? You're taught to goggle and Google and drool over men that are not average, men that you're not going to ever run into in your life unless you pay for a concert ticket. So you're literally seeing polar opposite promotion here. The same thing goes for white men and white women, for the most part. They're being portrayed in a positive light here in Japan. But the advertisement that you get for black people is typically negative, and it's not always done intentionally. Oftentimes, it's because we don't have higher standards. There's tons of YouTubers that have actually talked about these topics before on YouTube, and I won't say any channels' names, but if you're on Patreon, a couple of them probably come to your mind immediately that have addressed this. And to be honest, I never even thought about this. And so you'll see it all the time in movies where they will go out of their way to cast someone that is, black, right? But they choose someone that has, I hate to say this, a stereotypical average look, overweight, unattractive, and we're supposed to be happy because it's a black woman and she has dark skin and she's playing this role. Meanwhile, when they hire somebody that's, mixed race, that's white, that's Asian, they typically look for someone who is slender, someone who is attractive, someone who has the look, right? And so sure, it's representation for us, but what type of representation are they giving us? Meanwhile, does every white and Asian woman look like the actors that they're using for them in these movies? No. But they have some sort of system up where they're just like, hey, we're not going to accept anything less than this. If you're going to have an Asian woman portraying this role, we want somebody that's beautiful. We want somebody that has big eyes, that has long hair, that's thin. You're not going to see a fat, tan-skinned Asian woman with small eyes playing any major Hollywood movie role. Trust me, I know somebody's going to name a movie, but you get what I'm trying to say. I recently been watching America's Sweethearts Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders on Netflix, and that's another prime example. You will notice, I'm not even going to get on the black women issue on that show, but I'm going to specifically talk about the white women. You will notice that they specifically say, they don't talk about it in a ton of detail, but one of the requirements is to be attractive. Do you think that every cheerleader is super hot, Victoria's Secret and model-like those cheerleaders are? I can assure you, the average white woman doesn't look anything like them. The average white woman does not have blonde hair, blue eyes. The average white woman does not have this long, luscious, perfect, thick, hair with perfect waves. The average white woman is not wearing a size 0 to 2 like how most of these girls appear to. But if you went based on this TV show, that's all you've ever seen, you would think the average American woman, and in particular white woman, looks this way. And that just simply is not true. There's nothing wrong with them having positive representation, but I'm just explaining how this gives off that image. I'm also going to keep it real. I don't know whether this is purposefully done to sabotage the image of black women, if these are just the people that choose to audition for the show, but I'm going to keep it real. So far from what I've seen, I would argue 8 out of 10, if not 9 out of 10 of the black women that I see on there are ugly to average looking black women. Are they hideous? I wouldn't necessarily say that, but if I were to be honest, I don't find them attractive at all. I even feel like saying average for some of them might be a reach. But that's a whole other story. Not saying everyone, but I'm saying most of them that I have seen. But I should add, there have been maybe 10 girls or less in the couple of seasons that I've watched so far. But that's a whole nother story, not gonna get into that. I'm just trying to give you a representation to help you understand how, if you're only going to cast people that look a certain way, and this is all you're seeing, you're gonna believe all cheerleaders look this way. All cheerleaders are white, all cheerleaders have blonde hair, blue eyes, all cheerleaders are drop dead gorgeous, all American cheerleaders are thin and fit and in great shape. When the reality is, this is a sampled pool that they've chosen because they have criteria for what they allow to be a DCC. Well, guess what? Japan works the exact same way. They typically are not going to allow a super ugly, fat, unattractive, tall woman to be an idol. You want to know why? That completely goes against the beauty standards there, and it makes their women look bad. It's unfortunate because I think unattractive people deserve representation too. No matter how ugly you are, somebody thinks you're beautiful. But the reality is, there's an image that they have to uphold. And the black community is quite the opposite. You're funny, you make us laugh, you have good acting skills, we'll give you the job regardless. And I also feel like Hollywood pushes to have the bar low in order to keep that image maintained. Not to mention, let's also keep it real, we have tons of people that are in, Japan that, I'm not going to say just in Japan, but women in general, they are competing with each other around the world. So they have no desire to uplift anybody else's image but their own. And that even goes for American women. Why would other non black women want to make black women look good? That's more competition for you. This is also why you have some people that unreasonably just absolutely hate Asian women because they see them as competition. I'm not going to lie, they do have a very unfair advantage because people believe something about them that simply is not true. But I don't hate them for it. I mean, if we're all going to be real, I feel like every woman to some degree, you are a little bit jealous because who wouldn't want to be in that position? They are preferred by men around the world over a lie. And it is a lie, but at the end of the day, that still was causing men to prefer them. So I'm not here to debunk that. I'm just simply explaining how, if this is all you're seeing, you are going to believe this is everyone. This is the truth. That's just natural. Everyone works that way. If this is all you're seeing, all cheerleaders look this way. This is what you're seeing on TV. This is what the girls look like. You might even think all girls from Dallas look like this. But if you actually watch the show, most of those girls aren't even from the area. They're coming from across the country. Sometimes even across the world in order to compete. So, yeah, just want to throw that out there. It's all a matter of what you're seeing. Because people will argue, oh, if that's the truth, then why don't I see Japanese girls? Because that's not what they want to show you. Live in Japan and walk down the street, and I promise you, you are not going to see women that look anything like those K-pop and J-pop stars. You're going to see very average, basic-looking women. You're going to see women that have small eyes. You're going to see women that look exactly like how I said. When they don't have the filters on or whatnot, average, basic. You'll see the wigs, you'll see the extensions, you'll see the circle lenses, you'll see the heavy contouring. They're women just like anywhere else in the world. Likewise, same thing goes for white women. Sure, you have a comedy like an Amy Schumer type thing, but 9 times out of 10, who's going to be the lead in a movie where they're casting a white woman? You're going to have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, princess-looking woman. So, just want to explain to you, this isn't about what you're like in real life per se, not that nobody is like that. But the fact is, we allow the representation for ourselves to be negative. So I made a video talking about this and black people got mad at me, but hear me out. I'm just the messenger. Don't get mad at me. I don't make the rules. I should, but I don't make the rules. I'm telling you what people think, how they feel. And until we collectively decide we don't want to be portrayed this way, people are going to think these stereotypes about you. Likewise, same thing goes for Asians. They have so much positive representation. I mean, forget about just on a dating level, even on a cultural level. We have clear examples of bias, of prejudice, of Karen behavior from Japanese people, but we completely ignore it and we throw it under the this is Japan, follow the rules, you should have been doing whatever. They recently showed a video of this Spanish guy. I don't know if he's really from Spain. I'm just going based off of what I've been told. And I saw the video myself. And he's streaming on Twitch. Old Japanese man comes up behind him, gets in his face, and appears to be trying to either snatch his hat off his head, hit him in the face, do something to basically make a fool of himself. And so he's complaining about him, making too much noise, about him filming on the train. That's not your job or place to do that. Is what he's doing wrong? Sure, but this is a whole other video. I'll talk about that later. But who gave you the job to act like you're a police officer all of a sudden? Not to mention, what he's doing is not illegal. It's an unwritten rule, and sure, it's a disturbance. But technically, there's no rule saying that you cannot film video on the train. He's not filming up anybody's skirt or anything inappropriate like that. Is it rude? Sure. Is he being a nuisance? Sure. Is he sitting in a handicapped seating? Yes. But actually, the priority seating doesn't really matter. Granted, as long as nobody's trying to sit there and you're taking up a seat. Not to mention, we don't know his personal issues. Him being a streamer doesn't mean that he doesn't have any sort of disability, but I'm not going to play dumb with you. Let's assume that he does not. Again, I'll say this for that video. Does that give that man a right to put his hands on him because he's streaming and that man told him to be quiet and he wouldn't? That's not the way that things work. Switch the country and make this the U.S. Everybody would then be calling that man a Karen or a Ken and would be complaining about his behavior. But now we're excusing it because he's Japanese. And again, this goes back into the whole, oh, Japan is so orderly, so organized, whatever, but now we completely ignore absurd, ridiculous behavior. And the same thing goes for appearances, like I said. You could show the most average, ugly, busted Japanese woman, a girl that has tons of surgeries done, tons of filters, makeup, fake hair, everything. And she'll get praised for being beautiful. Just saw another post like that. Showing this J-pop idol, whatever, talking about her schedule of having to go to some practice while going to college and having to take a 4-hour flight every day. And the comments like, oh my God, I want to go to Japan. Japanese women are so beautiful. And I'm just like, she's clearly wearing a filter and makeup, but okay. I should also add that I think most women that use a filter tend to look a lot better than they do in real life. I know I do. So anyway, that's all a whole nother story. Just wanted to add that in there so people don't get offended by this. I want to explain, dot my I's, cross my T's, because I know people are just, waiting to jump out of their seats and get mad at me. I'm not talking about how I feel towards you for being black. I'm telling you how other people feel towards you and the representation that we put out there for ourselves, that they are consuming. They rarely see somebody that's just beautiful and not giving off the sexy type image. Also, because of the double standard, because their women are not portrayed that way, they believe that Asian women aren't these sex-hungry, money-hungry, whatever. And it's like, yeah, they are. They are. Like I said before in another video, who do you think is keeping these dating apps and love hotels in business? It's not foreigners. There's way less of us than you think there are in Japan, or visiting at any given time. But again, whole nother subject. Back to the video. Most men are not going to find that attractive. No, this is not what every black woman looks like, sounds like, talks like. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm simply explaining the representation is bad. It's also unfair because think about it. As a black woman, I'm going to make a video about this separately, but I want to lightly talk about it here. I'm trying to wrap up this video. You notice the portrayal that Asian women have for themselves does not match what they really look like. Coming here to Japan, you notice most Japanese women aren't really beautiful. Average looking to ugly, like any other race of women. However, their portrayal is that they all look like these K-pop, J-pop stars and models and porn stars. They have them all looking this way in the media with, full face makeup, plastic surgery done, extensions, hair curled, pressed, whatever. They have things that, they are looking away and they have things added to them that are not natural. But that is the way that the world sees them and portrays them because of that image that they've had pushed. Same thing with their personalities. Most Japanese women are not these submissive, quiet, little angelic angels. Instead, they're actually kind of mean girl spirited. They're very cliquish. They're very talk behind your backish. They roll your eyes, fake, phony, etc. But that's not the portrayal or image that they have. Their men have made them look good. And they got the game down on lock. They know how to pretend to be all these things until you give them the baby, give them the marriage, the ring, the money that they want. And then suddenly they show their true colors. So with that said, this is not to make a competition, but rather to say the image and portrayal that you have of yourself as a black woman is just negative. And with that said, most people don't consider you. And even for the ones that do know of your existence, when they think about beauty, you're the last thing that comes to mind to them, not because all of you are ugly, or it's solely because your skin is dark, or solely because you have short hair, but let's just be honest, these are not beauty standards for their country. So they're not going to be trying to look for a needle in a haystack. I'll just leave it at that. That is blunt, harsh, sounds ignorant, but I'm speaking to you bluntly, being honest. The other reality is most of the black people that are married here in Japan are not black Americans from what I've seen. It's normally people that are from the Caribbean and are from African countries. Now granted, I ain't no dummy. I know a lot of it has to do with visa issues. Trying to find a safer, better place to live, raise your family, make more money. I ain't gonna judge you for it. I do the same thing. But I will say this. The other reality is most of these people are dark skinned. which debunks that whole myth that, oh, if you have dark skin, you can't meet their family, they're not gonna like you. No, the reality is a lot of you guys that come here, you're just ugly. And you're not aware of it. You think the issue is that you're black. The issue is not your race. The issue is your face. You are ugly. You would be a fool to live vicariously through me and think that because I got married, I did whatever, you're going to have the same experience when you look nothing like me. Just keeping it real. A lot of people think, oh, I look similar to that person. We have the same hair. We're the same skin complexion. Right. But how does your face look? Are you facially challenged? Are you ugly? Same thing goes to white people. People think, oh, I'm a short guy. I'm only 5'6", 5'7", but I'm white, so I'm going to be able to get a Japanese baddie. It doesn't work that way. Japanese women have standards too. Having white skin is not enough. Sure, it's not a negative trait. It can be seen as a positive one. But most Japanese women are not going to say, I married him because his skin is white. It doesn't work that way. Same thing with height. Now, I'm not going to lie. Height is better than having white skin in Japan. But just keeping it real. Being a 183 centimeter guy is not going to undo the fact that you're ugly. Does it help make you more attractive? Yes. Will some people date you solely based on your height? Yes. But most Japanese women still will not want to date you because you're ugly. You might look better. You might be a little bit cute. But it's not going to be enough. Likewise for a woman. You can have large breasts but have an ugly ass face. Men will gladly have one night stands with you. But most are not going to want to marry you because you're ugly in the face. So, not going to dig so deep into that part of it, but I just want to say that is completely untrue. The fact that you cannot date here because you are black, or because you are dark skinned, or because you are half black, biracial, whatever. People do not flat out dislike black people. They just don't think about you because you don't make up the majority of foreigners here. Most of the foreigners that they see are other Asians, and then when they think of foreigners, they're thinking of white people, not you. And it's not because they don't like you and they want to ignore you. You don't exist in high numbers, especially black women. There's way more black men in Japan than there are black women. You can easily go your entire vacation without ever, or, your time, I'm going to say your entire time living it. You're going to see somebody eventually. But you can most certainly count between your two hands the amount of black women you're going to come across in Japan versus the black men. Especially from a Japanese perspective. It is not every day that you will see a black woman. And when you do, let's just keep it real. Do they look like somebody you want to date? Probably not. Just keeping it honest with you. Especially for the ones that have the whole drag queen makeup going on. With the huge thick broom lashes, got a nose ring and 50 face piercings and tat it all up. Not that white girls don't do this too, but I'm just saying, I'm going to keep it real. I see this more with black women in Japan than I see with white women in Japan. I don't even know what the reason is for it. Y'all can get in your feelings, and everybody's entitled to their own taste. There are Japanese men that like girls with these piercings and with these tattoos. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, most men in this country don't like that. Also, her being half Japanese, fully fluent Japanese, being beautiful, having a nice body, trust me, she's having no issues attracting Japanese men. I can assure you of that. And I'm talking about for a serious relationship. Also, half of her family, her mother, is Japanese, which also helps when trying to date seriously with a Japanese person. How are you as a foreigner going to tell her what her dating experience is going to be like and what she should or shouldn't do? You don't even live in Japan. You are not her. You are not half Japanese. You are not half black and half Japanese. So, shut up. I'm so tired of seeing white people, Mexicans, whatever, commenting on black issues in Japan when you are not only not black, but you're giving misinformation. You can give advice, like, for example, I talked about the issues with non-Japanese Asians in Japan, and that's not what I am. But you want to know what? I did my due diligence and I gave honest advice. People literally just like putting black women down and saying wrong, misleading, negative information just for the sake of doing it. And you want to know why? This is what I was talking about in another video. I think I recorded it. I did a recording for Patreon. It's because the OGs that were here in Japan before I ain't gonna call any names. I know who they are. They have yet to correct themselves. They've put out so much misinformation that in their defense may have been passed down from people that didn't even have YouTube channels, but they never took the time to correct it and to explain, hey, I was misinformed. I shared this and I was wrong. They have information that's out there that's completely wrong, incorrect, and they just don't care. They're making money off of the videos, off of the blog posts. They have no interest in correcting themselves and admitting, hey, I was wrong. Hey, I was told this isn't true. They won't even tell you that it's not okay to wear mini skirts and, short dresses, etc. Because these same people are lying to you, saying, oh, show as much leg as you want, it's fine. Just don't show any cleavage. That's not true. So these same people are lying to you about the dating experience here. The reality is, if you are ugly, dating will be hard for you, especially if you are black. And the reason I say especially is because, think about it, even if you're ugly as a white person, you got one good thing going for you: you have white skin. And I'm saying by Japanese standards. These are not my own opinions, this is theirs. And granted, don't get in your feelings, black people. Keep in mind, if you're like myself, or if you are biracial, you have more of like a lighter complexion than me, and you have more like of a golden type tan color, that's a pro for white people. They normally like tans. They don't want to be too pale. Okay, well, in Japan, it's kind of the opposite. They don't like tans. They want to be paler. So, is it going to instantly give you relationships, make you attractive because your skin is white? No. Will people compliment you? Yeah, sure. People, you have nice white skin, or your skin's so pale, whatever. But they're not going to be thinking, oh my God, you're so beautiful, marry me. It doesn't work that way. The majority of white people living in Japan are also ugly. And it goes for every race. Most people are ugly. That's why beauty is such a big deal. But the issue isn't the reality of what you're seeing. The issue is the PR that you have. When Asian women think of white men, they're thinking about the Brad Pitts. They're thinking about the Tom Cruises, the handsome men, right? The Chris Hemsworths. This is not to say that people like Chris Brown do not exist for the black community, but I'm saying that these are not the people that come to mind. And they're also not as mainstream as some of these other people too. People are not going to avoid dating you because you're black. People don't have a filter up saying, oh, I don't date black people. Are there people that do? Yes. Are there people that have a no blacks policy? Of course. That goes for the US or any other country you could think of. It goes in reverse too. Some people solely do not date Asian men, solely do not date white men. I'm not even going to get into the whole preferences thing with you, but I will say this. Most people would date you if you were attractive. They're not going to look at somebody like Beyonce and be like, oh, would date you, but damn, Beyonce, you're black. It doesn't go that way. That woman was gorgeous. Trust me, they will date her. However, if you don't look like her, don't live vicariously through her. And I'm going to keep it real. I sadly see this a lot with dark-skinned women in particular. You'll find that when you find like these biracial people that are half Japanese, half black, they will be followed by almost exclusively dark-skinned women. And I feel bad for them because I feel like from their perspective, they're like, oh, but they're black too. But it's like they're a different type of black. They're biracial. And beyond just being biracial, they're not your complexion. They don't have your features. So yes, they're able to date and move through these Asian countries in a way that you want to. But your experience likely will not be the same because you don't look like them. So, again, I could talk about this forever. I just want to say, don't feel discouraged. It's not that you cannot date. It's that you need to be attractive to date with these. There are hideous people, drop dead, ugly people that most certainly are married here in Japan that are black. Just as there are drop dead, ugly white men and white women and Asian women and Asian men that are married here. There's someone for everyone. But I'm not going to lie to you and say that's going to be easy if you are unattractive. And I will also be honest too. Let's address the elephant in the room. Dating in Japan is harder if you have dark skin by far. Especially if you have dark skin, short hair, and you're overweight. Can you date and get married? Yes. I know a handful of women, not going to lie and say plenty, but I know a handful who are. But the reality is, that is not going to be your average everyday person situation here. You will more than likely stay single or be used for one-night stands and experimental relationships. Most people will not date you seriously because you are both overweight and you are ugly and you do not have feminine features that men want. But the truth is, people just don't consider you. Unless you're really into hip-hop culture and, black history, whatever, like, you're not even going to consider black people. Because you don't see them. You're not shown them very much in the media. And when you are, it's going to be a negative portrayal. They're not showing you Beyonce on the news. They're showing you, the shooting that happened on 95th Street in Chicago. Like, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing these chain-smoking, super deep-voiced, masculine women on TV. That is the portrayal that you have for yourself. That's what they see. Likewise, I made a video talking about this, but for us as black women, what do most of us feel towards Asian men? Most of us don't like them either. Why? Because the portrayal that they have, most of them are short, ugly, nerdy, scrawny, geeky. We don't find that attractive. Is that what all of them look and or act like? No, but that is the portrayal that American media portrays. And it's not just black women, white women feel that way too. When we think of dating as Americans, black, white, Latino, whatever you are, we do not normally think about Asians. It's become more popular and trendy now for non-Asian women to consider Asian men, thanks to K-pop and anime, and K-dramas and stuff like that. But the reality is, prior to this stuff, pretty much no one wanted to date them. And the only reason why Asian women got love in the U.S. is because of those little nasty military magazines trying to portray Asian women as these docile, sweet, submissive, whatever type women. And of course, let's keep it real. Porn. That's what really did it for them. Their men have pushed their image positively. They say nothing but good things about Asian women. What do our men say about us as black women? What do they see us doing on the news, on TV? What do they see us acting like in our neighborhoods? At the grocery store? Okay. It's unfortunate that some people ruin it for everyone, but that's the reality that we have to deal with. I'm not here to sugarcoat it and make it sound cute. I'm telling you the reason why you're viewed the way that you are. But I'm also here to say it is untrue to say that being black makes dating here hard, or that you cannot date, or that people will not marry you, they can't accept you, the family won't. Those are all lies. The reality is you are not attractive. You came off as disrespectful towards their culture or a bad fit for their son, and it's not because of your race. I told you guys about dressing inappropriately. You don't meet his parents wearing a freaking mini skirt and a spaghetti string tank top with your tattoos exposed and your chest hanging out, and then say, oh, it's because I'm black. Yeah, he might have said that to you. That was his way of letting you down softly from his perspective. But really, his parents are like, you're not about to marry a streetwalker. No. Or, I said this before, a scapegoat to get out of the relationship. They knew you were dressed to fail. They wanted the parents to reject you, or they wanted the parents to say that they did, so that he could break things off for you. He's not trying to get married. That's the reality. You've been lied to. You've been tricked. You've been hoodwinked. So, it's whatever. Like I said, believe what you want. I'm just telling you from personal experience, I had no problem dating. I'm not the thinnest person. I am overweight. I don't have the slimmest nose. I don't have the world's biggest eyes. You do not have to be perfect by Japanese standards. And also, they will judge beauty on a foreigner different than a Japanese person or a fellow Asian person. They're not dating a black person expecting pale skin or straight hair. Are you cute? You can be cute and be black. Likewise, white is not synonymous with Asians with being attractive. Is there a preference to date somebody that is white? Sure. For some people, that is the case. Will your average person date someone solely because they are white? No. So, it's whatever. I went on way longer than I wanted to. All I'm saying is, it's so weird that there is this obsession with white people, non-white people, or not non-Asian people, specifically non-Asian men, and specifically non-Japanese men. I notice a lot with white and Latinos in particular, trying to humble black women and even biracial black women, half black women, and tell them what their experience is going to be like in Japan, what they do and don't like, and it's all just misinformation. That's not true. If you are ugly, people will not date and like you. If you are attractive, shoot, Japanese people don't care if you Chinese. They hate Chinese and Koreans, but you want to know what they're not going to do? If they see a beautiful Chinese or Korean woman, they will hit on her. Now, if they knew she was Chinese and Korean, couldn't see her face, and just had a description, Chinese woman, 23 years old, single, looking to get married, they might ignore that. Chinese woman, 23 years old, single, looking to get married, and they can see a full body shot and see how gorgeous she is, almost certainly she's going to get dates. So it goes the same way with black women. If somebody just knows, hey, do you want to date a black woman? They don't know what they finna get. So of course the answer is probably going to be no. Why? Because when you think of that, what comes to mind? Negative stereotypes. You think of the ugliest, most ratchet, most masculine woman you could think of. Now, if it didn't just say that, and it says, black woman, 23 years old, single, looking to get married, and you see Beyonce, or Rihanna, or somebody like that, now your feelings are very different to us. So it's like, oh, she's gorgeous, yeah, I want to date her. You see what I'm trying to say? And no, you don't have to let those two, because to be honest, I don't really feel like Rihanna is beautiful. She's okay. Y'all gonna kill me for this. I'm just keeping it real. Beyonce is. Rihanna, let's be real. Rihanna is liked because she's light skinned. She got light colored eyes. You get rid of that, make her dark skinned. Nobody give a fuck about that bitch. So I don't hate her. I like some of her music myself, but I'm just being real. So they do like her. Asians do like both of them, especially Rihanna. So just throwing that out there. But yeah, I'm done, you guys. Don't let people scare you out of coming here, out of dating here, out of living here. Everyone has their own taste. Different people like different things. Do not be terrified, paranoid, or whatever. Think that you can't meet the parents or just dress modestly. Try to learn some Japanese. Ask him what his parents like. Bring a nice gift. You will do just fine. You don't have to bleach your skin. You don't have to be light skinned. You can be a dark skinned woman and date here just fine. The issue is, are you attractive? Are you feminine? Do you look good? Are you respectful? Literally that simple. Don't let these white men scare y'all out of dating here in Japan. Think it's going to be all for you. Look, I've had white men try to talk to me in Japan countless times. Like, your options are not limited to Japanese. I understand why you want to date a Japanese man, but I'm just saying, you're not limited to just them just because you're here. You can date other people too. And also, you don't have to date or get married here to enjoy the culture. You can still have fun, go shopping, go out to eat, have experiences in Japan without ever getting into a relationship. Okay, I kind of ended up getting dragged off subject here, but what I really want to talk about is, and I'll make it quick, this woman is half Japanese. She doesn't need random white people in her comment section that haven't spent a day in Japan that are just echoing bad and misleading advice from other white people that claim to, and some that actually do live in Japan, but they're not black. Thus, they don't have a black experience themselves. There's so much false information about being black in Japan being passed around from white people. I've heard more about being black in Japan from white people in Japan than I have from actual black people. And unfortunately, it seems like the new wave with Gen Z coming in, they believe a lot of the stuff that they've been told by the elder millennials and even other white Gen Zers and Gen Xers that have told them, oh, you can't date if you're black. Black people aren't liked. Black people this, black people that. And it's like, are these people even black that were giving you this advice? And for those that were, did you look at what they actually look like? Because I'm just going to keep it real with you. I wouldn't take advice from somebody that doesn't look like me. Because I can tell right away from looking at you, our experiences will not be the same. Simply because you're not attractive. This is not to say that I'm some 10, I'm not delusional, but I'm also not going to pretend like I'm ugly or unattractive, regardless of what your opinions are here. Clearly, my dating history says otherwise. I've never had any trouble getting men to like me of any race, and I've always found myself in the top percentile when it comes to dating apps. But anyway, back on subject. All I'm trying to say is this girl is half Japanese. She doesn't need you to mansplain to her what Japan is like. And that's exactly what was going on in the comment sections of this video. It was full of white men and even some white women, and I think maybe a couple of sprinkles of black men also hating and upset because they called themselves upset because sure, she had more black features that were prevalent, but that also kind of pisses me off too. Having an appearance that presents more black than being Asian doesn't change the fact that you're biracial. It also doesn't change what you relate to more. She has a Japanese mother, and most people are going to spend more time with their mother. She's also living in Japan. So culturally, she feels more close to Japanese culture. She has the right to prefer Japanese men over dating whatever country she's from, Nigerian men or American men or Jamaican men, whatever. That's her right. She's mixed. She can do that. Also, how would you know more than what she does? She's native fluent in Japanese. It's her mother tongue. And I'm assuming that she also speaks English too. She knows what the culture is like because she lives there. She was raised there. She's an adult. Her friends are likely mostly Japanese. I think she knows what does and doesn't work when it comes to dating. And I'm sure she probably knows a lot more than my ass does too. So what is up with this whole humbling tactic thing that people keep trying to do, or they try to make you feel like just give up, you have no chance, you have a hope, and it brings me back to Kevin Samuels. I said this before in another video, but I remember a while ago he did a live stream and this black woman called in, ironically living in Korea, and it was funny because I'm in Japan, and so as soon as she called in, he basically called her crazy and told her that she's wasting her time being in Korea and she should come back to the U.S. and find a black husband, which is interesting because you'll never hear him advise a black man that calls in, regardless of what country he's in, that he needs to come back to America and find himself a black wife. There's this mindset that if you're a black woman, you have no options. You are completely limited to staying in the U.S., assuming that that's where you're from, and with black men. And unfortunately, the same stuff passed off onto white people and other races of men as well. And that's 100% untrue. If other women can date outside their race, so can we. We have more of a hurdle to overcome because unlike other races, we have all this negative representation for us. That's a big hurdle for us to cross. But that does not change the reality of what dating's like. I'm not saying this to be biased. Again, this woman was actually African. She's not American. She's half African, half Asian. So let me just throw that out there. However, I'm going to keep it real. She was gorgeous. She was a very beautiful woman. And I can tell by looking at her, especially since she's half Japanese and she speaks Japanese, the boys are lined up for her. She's having no problem dating, which is also why she likely has the dating standard that she does. She didn't say she'll never in her life ever date a black man or a white man or anything else. She just said that she prefers dealing with Japanese men. She prefers to date Japanese men. And is some of that probably rooted in childhood, identity struggles or whatever? Sure. Could she possibly be prejudiced, racist? Sure, I'm not going to deny those things. But that's digging too deep. She didn't say that. Why, whenever a black person talks about dating in Japan, people assume all of these things for them? Your looks aren't even taken into consideration. And then it's funny because white people feel the total opposite about themselves. They think dating is going to be a breeze, a walk in the park, etc., and that they can just marry whoever they want to because they have pasty pale white skin. They're from Ireland, or whatever the case is. It's just really funny to me how they've made these categories, and it goes beyond just dealing with Asia. I see this in the U.S. too. So that's all a whole nother story. But just want to say that was really the root of what I'm talking about. I hate this whole humbling tactic of you're not allowed to be attractive. You're not allowed to have your own type. You're not allowed to have preferences. You're not allowed. And in this case, her preference kind of makes sense. She is both. She's not even trying to date outside her race. She is Japanese and she is, black, African, whatever country she's from. She's born and raised in Japan. She's a Japanese speaker. Why do you think that you're telling her something new by letting her know, oh, well, she's going to be in for a surprise. His family's not going to accept her. You think she doesn't have a Japanese boyfriend? She's never dated Japanese men? She doesn't have Japanese friends? She doesn't have a Japanese father? Or, mother to teach her these things? Which also shows that what you're saying is a load of crap. Like I said, the reality is unattractive people, unruly people, ghetto ratchet people, loud people are not going to be liked. And that goes for white people too, and other Asians too. Anything that's too far off from what they're used to personality-wise. But that's not true for everyone. Not everybody likes this quiet, mouse-like, fake, docile-like personality either. But you all don't even know what her personality is like. There's all of these assumptions made about what type of person she is, solely because we saw that she's a black appearing woman, because she's half black. I've never seen people do this whenever they show somebody that's half Asian, half white. People normally praise them, call them model-like, ask for their at. And they can say that they only like Japanese men or they only like Japanese women. And nobody bats an eye, that's okay. But God forbid you're half black and you have that same preference. And I have my own thoughts on that. I've made a video talking about this before. That's a whole other topic. But I think that's a normal one in which you have a different situation when you're half of something. I think it's a whole other subject when you're dealing with somebody that's, for example, fully white, but you're saying, I prefer to date black women. In her case, she's simply saying, I prefer my own. And I'm sure she probably views somebody that's half Japanese as also being considered as her own, because that's exactly what she is. She's both. She is both Japanese and she is both black. And that's okay. She can choose to date either side or just one or the other. Just like how you are. So, whatever. I'm just so irritated with seeing stuff like that. It's like, let her be. And you're not Japanese, so how are you going to tell her what she's going to be in a surprise for, what she needs to learn, or what she can or cannot get or date or whatever? So, anyway, back to the video. There is more to life than just dating here. So, I'm through. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please leave your 2 cents down below. If you are a black woman or know of a black woman that is dating and or married here in a serious relationship, please share it down below. And understand that you are not the only person here that is ugly, that is fat, that is dark skinned. People that look just like you and are worse than you do, they are also able to date. Being light skinned does not make you attractive. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen girls that are biracial, that are light skinned. Oh my god, I can't date here. I haven't found a boyfriend. People always, one night stand me, or they leave after the first date, or after they see me, they make an excuse to go home early. I've read posts like that a million times from biracial and light-skinned women. Just saying. So, I'm there. Leave your 2 cents down below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you have any video ideas, leave a comment down below. And I hope you'll watch another video. Bye.